This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com, and today I have a man that is a legend in the Middle East and in Alberta. He's wrestled for WWE. He was one of the trainers for Mat Rats. He was one of the guys that first trained me how to lock up. He's owned his own wrestling company, and now he has the top training school in Calgary. He used to have a training school in Dubai, is working on one in Lebanon too. None other than the beast from the Middle East. Ali, how are you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm doing amazing. We got snow on the ground, but it's a sunny day, so I can't complain, bro. Let's go inside.
Workhorse Fitness Center, and you've had Bruce Hart training in there. You've had Gamma Singh and some Impact wrestlers. Just a top notch facility.
Champagne Jerry Morrow came in, Fandango came in and gave our schooled our students, so that was an absolute pleasure. Reverso's been here. Silas Young has been here. Harry Smith works out here regularly. The Billington boys are always around. You can catch the Voros twins here too when they're doing shows for RCW. So this is kind of our ring area here. Couple of 18 footers, crash pad, and then out here we go into the gym area. And then to the WFPC office. And this is where the magic starts.
Yeah, that's around how much does that facility cost to put all that together? That's amazing.
You know, we got, it's pretty serious. We got steam room, we got stand-up tanning beds, we got a protein bar with like really healthy rice bowls and chicken and steak wraps and stuff. We got massage therapists, physiotherapists. The Calgary Stampeders CFL team works out here, and some of the former Edmonton Eskimos, now Edmonton Elks, work out here. So it's really nice to be. And then you got the pro bodybuilders that come in here and prep for the for their championships, and then all the WWE and AEW and Impact and Ring of Honor and MLW, and even we're getting these workers from AAA in Mexico, and it's just like, I mean, our students are just thrilled that all these stars are around them all the time, and I can't complain. And we try to treat them with a little bit of respect, Hannibal. Like if you can't pull out a protein shake or a rice bowl for a WWE veteran who's, sweat, blood, and tears in that ring, or drive him to the airport or to his hotel room and pick him up for a workout, then I don't think you should be in this business, my opinion.
Now I notice you're promoting, or you have something to do with the event at the Pavilion in February. I think Bret Hart's kids had something to do with the Halloween show at the Victoria Pavilion where Stampede Wrestling used to run back in October. What's your involvement with that? Just sending talent to be on those shows, or?
Well, you know what? That is a dear, dear friend of ours and talented SOB by the name of Mo Jabari, aka Kid Chocolate. And he's working now in partnership with Dallas and Blade, Bret Hart's kids. And they've launched Dungeon Wrestling, and absolutely, I mean, they get all the Brian Pillman Jr. and Harry Smith and the Billington boys and the Bollywood boys and Rohan and Chris Masters and Nick Aldis and Raj Singh and Chris the Aussie Legend Knight. Like the whole card is stacked. I mean, and they're the last two shows that we attended, our students go down there and assist and pay their dues and set up and get people coffee and whatever the hell they need. And it was just, I mean, just an amazing, amazing show. So, yeah, we're happy to have Mo. You know, he was trained by our head coach, Chris, the Aussie legend Knight, and Mo Jabari. Just a lovely human being and just killing it out there with wrestling almost on Raw and then AEW. And it just like he's just killing it out there. And so I mean, he's here and he sees the kind of talent that we're producing. And I tell him, you're not pro wrestlers, you're sports entertainers. Get it through your head. You're here to put on a performance or go home. And they do. The proof is in the pudding, you know, like we've got Mars, that's just the specialist killing it out there, and Isaac Takeover, and a young man from Ottawa, Canada, Ottawa, London Bernard. I mean, but when you're under the tutelage of the Aussie legend and Raj Singh, I mean, what more could you ask for? You know, I just sit back and watch. I say to the students, so I'm not a coach. That is a coach. That is a coach who understands this industry. So just, I mean, what can I say? I got lucky. Gift from God.
One thing you were telling me about the other day when we were talking on the phone is you actually have places for students to stay there too. You don't have to make them fend for themselves, right? There's different homes where you'll hook them up with if they come out there to train.
Yeah, we have a housing facility. We even provide transportations if they require, because we get a lot of students overseas from France and London, England and stuff. So we do provide housing, supervised housing. So, you know, there's rules, there's lights out, there's, you know, because parents are entrusting their, you know, sometimes 17 and 18-year-old kids that have never been out of their city or town or province, and they're coming here. So the place is supervised. These kids, they go out together to the RCW and the dungeon shows where they assist, and some of the other promotions as well. I'm not just, but these two are really work closely with us in providing our talent with opportunities to debut in front of a live audience, and we're absolutely most grateful for that. So there's housing and meal preps. We give them a training schedule. It's like a full-on program. You know, if you're in it with us, you're in it to win it, and you're 7 days a week. I mean, we have some students that come in here at 10, 12 o'clock in the morning and don't leave till 10, 12 o'clock at night. I'm like, how do you spend 10 hours in a facility? And, you know, they hit the tanning, they hit the steam room, they get a meal, they jump in the ring, they get on the weights, and they're just like, these guys are here to succeed. That's it. So and we don't, you know, I mean, I tell these guys, and I hate to, you know, sorry to jump in like this, but I tell them, you know, don't be fooled by any school who says to you, we have connections. There's no connections in this business. There's your hard work. So don't ever believe that somebody can call somebody in some federation and get you a job. You got to earn it yourself, right? So I tell them right off the hop. And also don't be fooled by any school who's got a promotion who says, oh, at the end of the 3 months, you're going to be in a show. We guarantee it, whether you suck ass or not. No, we train you that after 3 months, if you put in the effort, that you'll be able to work for any promotion anywhere in the world. And I'll tell you something else, Mr. Hannibal, we go back a long way, and I've always respected you and what you've done and how you've taken control of your life. And I like to think that I model mine after yours. And our students are having main event matches. I kid you not, as God is my witness, before they're finished the training program. I'm like, how is that even possible? I thought I was hot shit. I guess not. So these guys today, as opposed to 20 and 30 years ago, they're killing it, man. They're just, but we've evolved the sport, you know. And I don't mean that we've reinvented the wheel, but we've taken this industry back to where it needs to be, where it is a real fight. So yeah. Good stuff.
Now, at one point in time, WWE was looking at you, and it was around the same time they hired Mohammed Hassan that you your tryouts. How did they hook you up with those tryouts? And I know that September 11th, unfortunately, had something to do with your contract not working out. But I heard you had very good reaction at your tryouts in Calgary, and there was actually fans cheering for you and stuff for your dark matches.
It was the highlight of my life, and you know what, I cherish it and I love it, and I'm glad that I did it, and I have no regrets, of where I am today. And I didn't, not reaching that platform that I thought, under, I was trained by Ted Hart. I mean, could you ask for any? But I mean, that's it. There's Ted, and then you go down 100 steps, and then everybody else starts there as far as talent's concerned. So I thought I would do huge things in this industry. I trained quick. I was in the ring with, you remember Mad Dog McFly, Mike Nielsen, and Aiden Pringle, and all these guys, and Natty was there, and we're talking over 20 years ago, and Ted was just a kid, and Harry was there, and TJ was there, and Jack Evans, and I mean, and so I'm an old man, I'm almost 30 years old, and these guys are just like teenagers. And Ted was, what I loved about Ted, he encouraged you to be creative. When I do a hip toss, I wouldn't do it to drop him on his back. I would do it to my belly. So both of us were coming crashing down, and Ted would just say, beautiful, and that guy he'd jump in the ring and he'd do half a dozen moves that had never been done before. And I'm like, what the hell? This guy's incredible. It was absolutely incredible being around him when he was, just evolving and becoming the wrestler that you know him to be. But I ended up wrestling about 15 matches. And I said, you know what? I had a match with this stiff prick named Bill the Butcher Yates. You remember him. And I just sent it to head of talent relations. Kevin Kelly at the time was there. And I'm going into a tanning salon, and I got about 15 matches. I don't know nothing. And I wasn't a fan of the sport, hey? Hannibal, I boxed as a kid. I had about 33 amateur fights. I never watched it. As a matter of fact, you know what happened to me? Is the wrestlers used to come into our boxing club and use our ring, and I'm like, these and I couldn't believe it, so that a lot of the things that I saw happen was kind of ruined it for me. So I grew up, training for the UFC and at Terrian Jiu-Jitsu in back east with Jean-Yves Terrier, and then blew out my shoulder and thought that my professional career was over. But let me back up a minute. So I'm about 30 years old. I'm going to SAIT, taking business administration with a major in marketing, and I'm working out at BJ's gym, Ted's dad's old gym. And I'm playing basketball outside, and I, had no interest in wrestling. They had a wrestling ring upstairs, but I never attended. And Ted comes up to me and says, hey, Ali, how's it going? And I knew he was the owner's son. I said, good, Ted, how are you? He said, good. He said, you got a good look. He goes, do you ever wrestle before in high school? I said, no. He said, you watch it on TV? I said, I got to be honest with you, bro. No, I don't. And he said, well, what if I let you try it for free for 2 weeks? Would you give it a shot? I said, sure, why not? And I remember after Hannibal, I think it was, I could be wrong. I'm old. I'm over 50 now. But I remember when I was in the ring with McFly, whatever we were working on, Ted had put his hand up to his face and whispered something to TJ, who were standing and kind of coaching from outside the ring. And he said something, and as he pulled his hand away, he was smiling and he was nodding in his head. And immediately I thought, this son of a bitch has got something. That's what I thought he was saying. This guy's got something. So needless to say, my first match under a mask, I was so bad that McFly, Mad Dog McFly, told me this about 15 years later. He goes, you want to know how much you sucked your first match? I said, what? He said the promoter stood at the back of the building. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, right? But this is what he told me. And he went like this, get this clown out of my ring. And I was under a hood and I couldn't breathe and I was dying. And I swear to God, there was these chairs that were welded together like at airports, 3 together. And I was literally putting my hands down and getting thrown into these chairs and trying to knock myself out because I couldn't get this mask off and I couldn't breathe. The worst experience of my life, man. I don't think anybody has ever had a worse first match. Like to feel like you were dying, you can't get this thing off and you're trying to knock yourself out. Mental is what you have to be. So to make a long story short, I send this 5-minute match to Kevin Kelly, and I'm about to go into a tanning salon. Remember, I was born in Edmonton. I'm whiter than you are. This is a tan, Hannibal. And I'm about to go into this tanning salon by my house in Forest Lawn, Calgary. And I look, and it's WWF. I answer the phone. My heart's pumping, right? He says, "Hi, Ali. This is Kevin Kelly, Talent Relations." I said, "Hey, Kevin, how are you?" He said, "Good. I just watched your match." And I said, and he goes, "And I kid you not, right? I have no reason to brag. I don't wrestle. I'm not trying to get a job. You can kiss my ass as far as I'm concerned. And I'll say this, God forgive me if I'm mistaken my memory, I'm old, but he says, wow, you bring wrestling to a new level of intensity." I said, what did this guy just say? I said, what? He said, Ali, I want you to come out in front of 60,000 fans at the Oakland Alameda Coliseum in Oakland, California. I said, not happening. He said, what did you say? I said, I'm not doing it. He said, are you saying no to me? I said, Kevin, I got 15 matches under my belt. I don't know nothing. You want me to go out in front of 60,000 fans and look like a clown? I said, no, but I'll tell you what I will do. I said, if you would just permit me to do Raw here in Calgary on March 28th, 2001, when you guys are in Calgary just before September 11th. He said, I'll do better than that. I said, what's better than that? He goes, you can do Tuesday Night Heat in Edmonton the next night. I said, oh my God. So I get to the show with, there's 11 of us debuting that day. Before doing a dark match before Raw. And McFly and Leo, the Legend Burke, came down there with me. Leo, as you know, he used to train, be the coach at Brett's place for WCW and WWF back in the day. And I love the man.
We lost him for a second. Oh, he's back. We
back?
Lost you for about 5 seconds. You were just talking about Leo Burke. And while he's getting hooked back up, fans, here he is. Hi, Hassan.
Yes, student. I don't think they're getting the picture, but I'm not answering calls right now. But
oh, you're frozen. I don't know if it's because somebody's calling you, but you're
somebody's
frozen.
calling me, and they're not. They just keep. That's like 4 or 5 times they've called. So Leo Burke comes down there with me because I was nervous, and I asked him to come down, and he was teaching me psychology, and yeah, I was working for Leo down at the Cecil downtown. Me and McFly brought me down there, and he says to Leo, he says, Leo, this is my friend Ali, and he wants to learn psychology from you. If you would, teach him psychology, because I was getting all the, technical stuff in the ring from Ted, and he says, yeah, sure, put on an apron. You're my new waitress. And I became Leo's waitress. So, so he comes down there, and I guess he goes, and now I heard this after the fact, but he says to Kevin, he said, listen, man, this kid doesn't know what he's doing. He says he's green. He puts on a good show, but let him, put him in his comfort zone. Let him wrestle McFly. And McFly was not debuting that day. He ended up at WCW, but because Leo went over there when that whole Brett thing, he says, let him go over, let him be the baby, and let him come out second. So about 5 minutes before the match, I walk up to Kevin Kelly, and I'm like, hey, Kevin, what gives? I see Stone Cold Steve Austin reading his script in the corner. Where's my script? He says, no script. I said, well, so he goes, you go out there and wrestle. And I said, well, who am I wrestling so I can work? He says, you'll find out in the ring. I kid you not, brother. I don't remember a single spot in that match. I don't remember a single spot. I remember walking to the ring and getting off the mat. And that was it. Like I was so nervous. So I'm sure I just did an awful job. But you know, a lot of the fans had watched me here at the Fire Park with WCEW and you know, Wrestling for Bad News, God rest his soul, and with Rick Titan and stuff, God rest their souls. And so
Rick Titan, for anyone that doesn't know, was the fake Razor Ramon that I know you were close with.
yeah, he died just recently too. So we finished the match. He goes over, he gets out of the ring, and as I start to get off the mat, the arena erupts. Ali. I was like, I mean, you can't even explain that. I mean, you know, and I come into the dressing room and I love this man. And you know what? What kills me is that he doesn't know how much I love him, and I've loved him for the last 20 years. But Haku was sitting in the dressing room and he throws up his hands and yells, Ali! Man, I thought I was home. I get up to Edmonton. I look on the board and all of my colleagues' names are on that board except mine. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. They don't even want to see me. That's how bad I was. So I run up to Kevin Kelly and I get up, I walk up to him. I said, Kevin, I shake his hand. I said, I want to thank you for this opportunity. If I never wrestle again, it was the highlight of my life. He says, what's wrong? I said, my wife had a miscarriage and I'm not going to hang out here like some mark if I'm not needed tonight. He said, well, he said, have you been paid for yesterday and today? I said, yeah. He said, well, the reason why you're not working tonight is because we've seen enough. Vince wants to see you. Please head over to his office. I'm like, this is surreal, man. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. So I rip home. Tell my wife Shadia, and she used to come out with me as Princess Jasmine. You remember, with the armed guards around her. It's just, what a great woman. 30 years I've been with this lady. She's given me 5 children, and by God's permission. And I tell her, you're not going to believe this. They want to sign me. I get my college and my pilot's license and send it off to the U.S. Immigration. And I kid you not, brother. I kid you not. As I live and breathe, 2 planes fly into the World Trade Centers. And I'm sitting there watching the news going, oh my God. And I knew it. I knew it right then and there. My parents are Lebanese. I was born in Edmonton, made no difference. Pilot's license. My name is Ali. I knew it. Sure enough, around December, middle of December, I get my paperwork back. Denied entry. Reason? They had one word, 4 letters in capital. None. That was the reason. There was no reason. So, I work in oil and gas now, and as well as various other things. But I started to ask around, and my white Caucasian friends said to me, when that happened, when that tragedy of September 11th happened, we, 7th generation Caucasians were kicked out of the States too. So I didn't take it personally, but at the time, Hannibal, man, to have the rug pulled out from under you like that, I was like, wow. But in hindsight, I got 5 kids. I'm a bigger celebrity than anybody in the WWE. And I got 5 fans every single day, no matter what, when I wake up and when I go to bed. And rather than having reached that level of stardom that I felt that I could accomplish with the right guidance and the right platform, I get to see these little SOBs, every one of them, debut, get their tryout with a local indie, and then go on to the big show. And and we've been fortunate enough to touch a lot of the stars that you see today, either through our facility or through our coaching staff, who And it's just what a pleasure, right? And you know, and coaches, they don't like to give you their secret, their showstoppers. So me, you know, we have kids classes as well, and I teach these kids to be little beasts. I say, hey, don't you ever take someone off the rope without giving them 2 knees first. Don't you ever pick somebody up without softening up with a nice shot before you pick them up. And some things that just, so when the fans are watching, they're like, wow, this is incredible. Everything is real. The way it would be done on the street if 2 guys were throwing down. And it's just exciting. So I like to give them the alley-oops and the sandstorm suplex and the stomp and the moves that, you know, even guys like TJ, when I talk to me, says, Ali, don't think I don't remember your, you know, and he named some of the, you know, the cannonball off the top ropes, the suicide bomber. And I was like, wow, you remember some? And he goes, oh, and how you do your hip toss to your belly. And I was like, holy smokes, man, that 20 years ago, you still remember that? He said, yeah. And another dear friend of ours, TJ, just deserves everything he's getting in life. He's so successful. But, you know, when I see him on Facebook, he answers the nobodies, the kid that just, you know, 14, 16 years old, has nothing to do with wrestling, just a fan. And I see him on Facebook answering him, and I thought, wow, man, you stayed humble through all that success and all that money, and your wife's a star and your in-laws are stars and you're a star, and it just, wow, I got it. What can I say, man?
I think it's funny that out of everybody, everyone always imagined when we were younger that it was going to be Ted or Harry, the most successful. But as a wrestler, it was Natty. And as a producer, it was TJ behind the scenes. But no one would have expected Natty to be one of the top divas of all time.
Oh, I mean, but look at her. She's a gem. She's a freaking gem. I mean, and I love them. You know, I owe everything to them. What can I say? I mean, if Ted didn't have the courage to come up to me on the basketball court outside one sunny day, at that gym, I mean, we wouldn't be having this discussion right now. So, I mean, I love him. TJ's a dear friend, and I wish him all, and Natty and Harry. I mean, Harry's here working out all the time. His cousins, Thomas and Mark, the Billington boys, are here all the time.
You got to get some meat onto those two.
I know, eh? But they're so talented. But hey, listen, you know this, Hannibal. You got to take this business serious. It's mind and body. It's not just, you know, you have all of these tools in your toolbox and these in your bag of tricks, and just kind of, you know, nah. I think you gotta, you know. And I don't mean you got to be a pro bodybuilder. I mean, hit the gym, and then they do, but they're lean but they look good. Who cares? They look good, man.
Yeah, they're signed to MLW. But you brought up Ted. I know you guys are back friends now, but he recently did a podcast on this channel where he said the only wrestler that he ever fought was CM Punk. I wasn't there for this, but about 20 years ago, you and Ted actually had a real fight on an Indian reserve around the time you were making this TV show. So what exactly happened there? Because I never asked you about it.
You know, and Ted's just that kind of guy. He just brings out he just brings out emotion in people. And I love the guy. But you know, it was like 20 years ago. I was a kid. You know, we had this 100,000 square foot facility on Satina, and called the C20 building, where we produced the UWN Underground, the Ultimate Wrestling Nation TV series. And we were at the facility. We were setting up and, you know, getting ready for the taping and stuff. And, you know, let's just say we had a difference of opinion. And, you know, has such a strong personality, and he just, you know, he's so articulate. And I'm, you know, I've got a kind of a pretty aggressive personality, and it was immediate. Like, we looked at each other and we realized that we had both pushed each other to that point, and just like without No warning, no nothing, just started shot for shot. And back then I was a big dude, 240, 250 pounds. Not a little old man like I am now. And Ted wasn't like juiced up like he is now and thick and good. And he went shot for shot. And I was like, wow. I couldn't believe it because I wouldn't have fought me at that time. And then I think both of us realized that neither one of us was going to stop throwing shots. And it wasn't like we had grabbed each other. It was just shot for shot, hockey style without the grabbing of our jerseys. And then we immediately just both looked at each other and realized, okay, we let it out. And then one of his friends was over there. He had a couple of students with him because he was still training down at BJ's gym. And one of them made a move towards me. And God forgive me because he's such a nice kid. And I turned my attention from Ted and beeline for this guy. And he started running away from me, realizing that I was coming at him. And he started running towards me. We had a limousine inside of the building. And I come up behind him with an elbow on his neck. Boom, man, that kid went into that limousine and he actually pushed in the quarter panel there of this older style limousine. And then I turned around and walked straight up to Ted, and without even skipping a beat, we just grabbed each other and hugged and squashed it. It was as quickly as we had ignited, it was over. And I'll tell you, he's been nothing but amazing to me over the years. And I know I seen that dangerous breed in that documentary and stuff about him and the way he's portrayed. And hey, I'll tell you something, inhibition out the window and out partying, enjoying ourselves, training, wrestling. I got to know Ted personally and intimately, and on a business level and on a personal level. I never seen nothing, never once seen anything that resembles the character that they tried to portray in that video. Bullshit, as far as I'm concerned. Never once did he yell or scream or freak out at a chick, whether it was in the club or in the gym or just. I'm just saying, I never once seen it. Never said, "Whoa, that kid's psycho." Just thought he was too talented for his own good. And that's it. And he was given, they say that you can take your shot too soon. Like Steve Rivers. His first match was for the WWF. So I think Ted got his shot too soon. He was too young. He was too good. And he knew it. And that was the problem. The SOB knew it. And it's true. Coach Raj here says, I actually was talking to Ted the other day, and Raj pulled up to train, and I said, what did I say Raj says about you behind your back? He said, best wrestler, bar none, no questions. So
now we've seen the other two that were featured in this documentary were escorts. One, I guess, ran an escort business, the other was an escort. A lot of people say this Samantha Fiddler was a stripper and also an escort. Did you ever meet this woman at all?
No. I had because I had gone over to Lebanon and started training some of the guys over there, and then I ended up in Saudi Arabia for about 4 years, and then opened a facility in Dubai. And he was in the States too, right? So we kind of were just Facebook highs and buys and stuff like that. I wasn't really involved or never met her anyhow. No, I never met them.
And speaking of your Middle East, I have about a 20-second clip to show people. You were on the American Gladiators Middle Eastern version. So I'm just going to put this up to show people your fighting skills. You're not all talk.
وقف بسرعة. حسن وزنه 100 كيلو جرام ومنه لعبة سهلة يا وحش. ده وقتنا يا وحش. المعركة عم تقوى. وانتهى الوقت وحسن على الحلبة فحصل على 5 نقاط.
timed out. I had to throw him off the platform. But that was, it's called the Arab Gladiators, but in essence, it was the American Gladiators done in the Middle East. But what a pleasure. That was at the same time that my TV series aired on LBC, the Lebanese Broadcast Corporation, which is where we're going to open our next facility in Lebanon, actually, for a lot of the Middle Eastern and Indian and Nepali and Bangladesh and Pakistani, Nigerian wannabe sports entertainers that can't get visas to come to our facility here. We're starting to attract a large international audience for our training, and so we're going to go open another one in Lebanon, hopefully this summer.
Now, I remember I was part of your TV show pilot there all those years ago. Bad News Allen was one of the commentators. Could you tell us at all about your relationship with him over the years? Because you guys seem really close.
You know what? I just love the man, and I love the fact that I got the last series that he ever produced. So I have that footage of him, and that footage is so dear to me. And the second Razor Ramon, not the fake, the second Razor Ramon, Rick Titan was also the color commentator. He was the heel, and he was so funny. Oh my God, he said such stuff that today you'd be ousted. You just couldn't say it, but I mean, it was just so funny the way, because we were, I knew he was joking and stuff, but I mean, they were just, and Bad News was the baby, and obviously Rick was the heel, because he just loved to rib me, and then Tim Stein and Jinder Mahal was in that, and you remember Phil Lafont and Rob McManus, the Highlander, and Vic Viper, and who else? Steve. It was an elimination tournament, and it ended up being me and Steve Rivers in the main event, Canada, USA versus Lebanon. So it was pretty awesome. And to have footage of Jinder when he was just a little punk kid, making $100 a match back in the day, and now look at him. Man, the guy won't even answer your call. He's such a big star.
Yeah, I mean, there's another guy. We talked about Natty being kind of the dark horse. I kind of always knew Raj was going to make it because of his size, and he's a good politician. Let's face the fact, but he's talented too. I always liked wrestling him, but no one
you wrestled him.
Expected him to eclipse like Ted's success.
Yeah. Oh, you wrestled him. I never had the pleasure of wrestling him. You know what else too? I've never wrestled Ted. And I mean, I would just love to, to come off that top rope and cannonball and finish that fight 20 years ago. But I never wrestled Ted, and I don't think I ever wrestled you either, Hannibal.
No, only in the training, because by the time I was there, you after that WWE thing, I think you kind of threw in the towel on wrestling. You still hung around and did your own pilots and stuff, but you didn't do the Stampede stuff at that point.
You know what? I thought to myself, if those pricks are going to keep me out of the States for what? You know what I mean? Like, it was just such an odd thing to have happen at that time. The timing of it. I said, you know what? If I can't go to the WWE, then, and I said, or not the WWE, I can't go to the States, right? So I can't work for these guys. So, but I kept training. I kept being involved in performance centers and training centers, and finally got to meet Chris Knight, the Aussie legend, and Raj. I knew Raj from back in the day when me and his dad Gamma were going to South Africa for a month long tour, and I got to tag with he's Hulk Hogan over there. That was just such an honor to be able to share in that with his dad. So Raj was always like a lot younger than I was, but now he's here at the Performance Center. And I walked up to
Impact, right? Just for the fan, I forget what his Impact name is because I don't get it. But
Raj Singh, okay. Yeah. And I walked in one day. I remember one day we had two groups of kids in both rings. He had about maybe 8 or 10 guys in each ring, and he had blown out his knee at Impact still, where he is now, and he had his chair leaned up against the windows, and his foot up on, and he had this device on his knee, and he was, he took his therapy real serious, and he had his leg up on the ring, and I said, Raj, how the heck? You're coaching two groups of people from a chair, lean back while you're, recovering with this huge, meniscus injury. And I said, I don't understand how you are such an amazing coach. And he said to me, he says, Ali, I've had my own ball hockey league for about 15 years. I've been coaching for 15 years. And he's just a kid. And I thought, wow, what an amazing coach who wasn't trained as a coach, but being trained by Bad News, which he was, him and Jinder. I mean, you're being taught everything, A to Z. King Kong. Let's go back to the Olympics where he got robbed, right? So that's Raj. I love him. I love him. He says to me, "Oh, you didn't have a debut WWE Raw." And I said, "No, I did. It was a dark match on Raw." He said, "No, you did. You were the extra or something." And he's like ribbing me about it, and I'm like, "Listen, you punk." But just, I love the man. And that's what I call him, Raj the Rib Singh, because everything that comes out of that guy's mouth is a rib.
Yeah, and I can tell the fans there is, I guess you could call me a wrestling expert. I truly believe if you had a shot in WWE, you would have made it from seeing your intensity and your charisma and your look. Yeah, you have a fan here that wants to know if you have any advice for Mustafa Ali, who seems to be struggling to get over in WWE right now.
Oh, geez. What can you say to a star without sounding like I don't know, man. I was always an intense. There was no off with me in the ring, you know what I mean? And sometimes I see these workers that turn it on and turn it off. And when you're on that platform, off should just not be an option. You know what I mean? I don't know how to say it without showing you, but you know what I'm talking about. With me, there was no off. There was no walking over and picking somebody up. I grabbed him by his head. I pulled his head towards me, and I'd give him a slap that he'd remember the next day. So there was no just picking a guy up or walking up without giving him a shot, softening him up, or giving him a couple of knees before you took him off the ropes. But today, I don't know, man. So we try to bring that into it, that showmanship, that intensity, that charisma, that engagement, that audience engagement. That, hey, man, get it out of your head. This has nothing to do with pro wrestling. This pro wrestling has nothing to do with wrestling. This is about sports entertainment. And I'll tell you why. Because you could do a full match without a single wrestling move. So then what does this have to do with wrestling? Absolutely nothing. Wrestling is the resistance of one competitor against another. What we do is the assistance of one worker working with another. Because some of our moves look like amateur wrestling moves, let me tell you, if any of these fans were interested in wrestling, they'd wait 4 years for the Olympics. But do they? No, they do not. So stop telling me that pro wrestling is about wrestling. And if you're interested in becoming a wrestler, then this is not the place for you. But if you want to put on a performance and you want to be a sports entertainer, then don't sing it, just bring it.
Good advice. There's another fan on here. You mentioned your jiu-jitsu background with Terrien Jiu-Jitsu here and kickboxing with Jean-Yves Theriault, who I train with as well.
No way.
This guy wants to know your thoughts on the Gracie Barra gyms all over the world.
I'm not involved in that anymore, but so I really don't have an opinion. So I don't want to just kind of say something to appease a fan. I'm not familiar, bro.
And there's another fan that coincidentally says he also trains at those Gracie gyms, but he says he wants to become a pro wrestler, but he has autism. Any advice for him?
You know, we get we do birthday parties here and too, and we have kids that are limited mobility and autistic and some difficulties, and we allow them to participate in our program, whether they're an adult or the over 16 or under 16, to whatever they're able to do, and you can't say no to anybody. You never know who's going to make it and who isn't, because this is an equal opportunity business, right? As long as if you're missing a finger or a nose or an arm or what have you, but you put on a show, you put on a show, and that's all they're looking for. So, I mean, I can't. How can you say no to anybody? And we've had some students with some challenges and participated and enjoyed it and did their debut match, and they'll have that forever, and some of them have continued on and some of them have not, but the experience from the communications that we still have is like they were grateful for their time here because they learned and they grew as a person and and maybe understood people better and had more respect. When you're putting your life in somebody's hands and vice versa, you have another level of respect for humanity, I think, because it's life is so fragile, and you see it when we put our when we perform for you and we put that blood and sweat into what we do.
Ivan wants to know if you've ever met Tiger Jeet Singh.
Tiger Jeet Singh? No, I don't think so.
He was the father of Tiger Ali Singh, that was a Japanese wrestler, but he's from the other end of Canada.
Who's that? That Japanese superstar, Tiger?
Tiger Mask.
Tiger Mask. That when I went down with Ted to AAA for a pay-per-view and came out in the after the main event with Conan and X-Pac and Bobby Lashley and I'll tell you something. I swear to God, this is a true story. My editor calls me and he's like, "Holy smokes, you did a show with Daniel Bryan in Mexico with for AAA." I said, "No." I said, "Bobby Lashley, Conan, X-Pac, Ted was there. I think Jack was there too. This Tiger Mask superstar. I didn't know him." He says, "Yeah," and Daniel Bryan. I said, "No." He said, "I'm watching. I'm looking at the footage." And he sends me a clip of me with my headscarf and my robe walking out beside him. I swear to God, man, I didn't even know who. He must have went by a different name back then, but I didn't even know that it was realized that it was him. So oblivious. I mean, too many chairs to the head. Come on, you remember? I mean, Bill. I remember one time, Bill. I said to him, "Man, I'm not feeling good today." And they said, "No, Ali, you got to wrestle." And it was WCEW. No, you're the big star, and all your fans have come out. And I said, "I'm not feeling good, please, Bill." And I'm telling you, he hit me with a chair. All I could see was 8 people like this. And, back then I didn't know I just took that boom. Oh my God. So if I ever run into Bill again, I love him too, because it was that match that got us our debuts. But yeah, I have too many chairs to the head, bro. What can I tell you?
Now, I don't think you probably want to get into this too much, but you were showing me the pictures of this beautiful facility you had in Dubai, which was immaculate, and I guess you got screwed over there or something, which is unfortunate. But how was that experience, just briefly, trying to get something started in Dubai?
I went down there. A friend of mine had told me that there was an opportunity there, and some of the VIPs wanted to meet me. I guess they're rich and wealthy down there, VIPs. And so I went down there. We ended up meeting the Crown Prince's consultant, Nasser Niadi. He's the guy that started Skydive Dubai, and he's the one that really has made paddleball big over there, and just a gem of a human being. Came on as our agent, and we launched the Ultimate Wrestling Nation. Over there, we had 2 rings over at Fitness for Life gym, about a 34,000 square foot gym with 2 swimming pools and a full track on the 2nd floor. It was just an incredible facility. state of the art. And my head coach from here at the time, yeah, there you go. No, that's that's actually that's the screw job picture. So yeah, that's after what they turned it to the UWN, United Wrestling Nation. So to make a long story short, we got 25 million from 5 investors in the United States to start running live shows across the Middle East, and and there's the track, yeah. And then Kenny Lester, a friend of mine, another gem of a human being, got me in touch with some of the big dogs, like Kurt Angle, and we reached out to Eric Bischoff and had discussions with him and Mark Henry and Mojo Riley and Damian Sandow and Chuck Liddell and Mike Tyson's team, and yeah, there's the 2 rings from the restaurant up top, and Henry Cejudo and Triple C and Eric Albarracin they were talking to Mike Tyson's camp, and who was really interested in getting involved in pro wrestling in the Middle East. And then about 6 months into the project and just waiting on funding, I came back to Canada to, and this is difficult, but I came back to Canada, and my CEO, my marketing manager, and my head coach from here, who will remain nameless, decided, why don't we just start the United Wrestling Nation, kick Ali's ass out the door, and we'll become owners instead of employees. Good on you. So after, and it was so embarrassing, it was so embarrassing that I how do you, when they pulled the carpet out from under me, how do you call Kurt Angle and say, I just got my ass handed to me? Or Mark Henry, who took the time to even say hello to a nobody like me. It was so disheartening that so many people were relying on that. In 20 years of my life, invested in one day, that was my goal, is to one day go to the Middle East and have a promotion running across the Middle East in that territory that they don't really have, a larger organization. So many people that were relying on it that lost out, and then they ended up that group of guys who ended up getting an investor, a Syrian investor, and this is from my CEO's brother's mouth, who was my best friend back from Ottawa. I've known these guys for almost 30 years, which was even worse, add insult to injury. But his brother ended up talking to me afterwards and saying that they got an investor for $12 million. He got the first $1 million payment. Buddy went out and bought a Maserati and gave the coach a $50,000 bonus and the secretary $20,000 bonus and this big fancy offices, and started bringing in shipping girls over from Lebanon to work in the office. I don't know why, but and then married some 25-year-old young girl, and going to coffee shops for $20 US for a cup of tea, and went through that money pretty quick, and then went back to the investor for the second payment of $3 million. I think it was total 12 is what Buddy was going to invest, and like I said, this is all secondhand from his brother, though. I mean, it's reliable as far as I'm concerned. And he said to the investor, give us a second payment, and he looks at him and he must have said something like, "Are you out of your mind? I just watched you spend $1 million of my money and not put on a show," and walked out. And then, so the pictures that I sent you was our facility originally, and then somebody stole one of our rings, and then they changed the logo on the wall from Ultimate Wrestling Nation to UWN. And then in the final picture there that I sent you, you see that there's no rings. And it's too bad too. We had about 15 students, and we had just opened up, but we had students from all over. Like, it was just because we had good coaches, and I mean, I can't say anything bad about my former coach's coaching. It was reputable. I've been in the business 40 years, and he's seen an opportunity and he took it. And what they say, greed begets greed. and I guess they got greedy, but in the end, they got what they deserved, and that, which is nothing, and now that coach doesn't even have a job, so, but yeah, it was unfortunate.
Story. So how can people contact you about your Calgary location? And I guess Lebanon, you're still finalizing everything there, so you're not really plugging that too much yet.
Well, I shipped the ring, a couple of rings down there already, and so we're gonna set that up hopefully this summer, maybe sooner, but let's see. But over here, we're still in our head offices in Calgary, Alberta, the Workforce Fitness Performance Center. You can go wfpc.ca or just Google the best training center in Canada, and for some reason ours have been coming up. And I mean, not due to me, bro. Like Chris Knight, Raj Singh, Mo Chocolate. I mean, you can't ask for better. I mean, they don't just teach the kids spots and moves. They teach them, they make them understand the business. They make them understand what they need to do, the respect that they need to have, etiquette, I'm telling you, it's something to be seen. And we have a lot of students that have been kind of over the last month been coming to us from other schools within the area that have said, listen, man, we made a mistake. We went to this place because of money, and if you're looking for a good deal, I can recommend half a dozen facilities in and around Calgary. But if you're looking to get trained properly and to take this business seriously, then we'll take your money.
Yeah, one of the problems with wrestling, and it's out here too on the East Coast. There's like so many crappy schools and then independent leagues that use these wrestlers that put on such horrible shows. It kind of kills the independent scene around. So hopefully more people will go to schools like yours and see the difference when you have known trainers and such a top-notch facility, and it'll eventually make the independent scene stronger out there.
Well, I mean, the thing is, and we've talked about this before. These schools have promotions, and they convince these kids that they're going to be put in a match at the end of the 3 months, and they are put in a match. Does it mean that they should have been in a match? So watch out for that, And they've asked me. They said, Ali, you're pretty creative, and the Ultimate Wrestling Nation was the first ever professional wrestling full contact prize fight in the never seen before octagon ring with ropes, it was like it was hard hitting, and so they say start a promotion. I don't want to confuse the two issues. Promoting is promoting. Training is training. We want to produce superstars, sports entertainers that can work for anybody, not just because you spent 3 months and missed every second day and then got put in a match at the end of your training program. Come on, man. If this is what you're looking for, man, hit the road. Because we're not looking for that. We're not looking for people that just want to be thrown into a show. We're looking for people that want to take this seriously and want to make something of themselves through this vehicle called professional wrestling.
And it looks like a lot better. I know the dungeon is like legendary, but like that was a mat with no ropes and cat piss on the mat and weights from like the 1950s. And your place there is like 2020 and beyond. It looks like absolutely amazing.
TJ had contacted me a number of years ago, said, Ali, I know you can't come to the States, but what do you think about coming to Saudi Arabia and doing a show down there? This was just before COVID, and me and Torn Hart, Bruce Hart's kid, were practicing, and we're going to do a match and send it to the WWE, just for him to be seen, and maybe possibly for me to go do some stuff in the Middle East. And I was talking to TJ, and I FaceTimed him, and I said, have a look. And I showed him, and this was like, a couple of years ago. So it isn't the facility that it is today. And I'll never forget this. He says, and I walked him through the whole building and showed him, and he says to me, Ali, next to the WWE Performance Center. That is the best facility I've ever seen. And I was like, wow. I mean, you know, it's full service, right? So that was really nice to hear from him. And then to see his garage, the way he painted his garage with some of the stuff that I have up on the walls, you know, was and he has more right to have it up on his walls, but we're just honored that to see his garage kind of done up kind of a little bit like the inside of my facility was kind of cool.
Yeah, because he's training people in Florida now too. But
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on and telling us about your facility. Hopefully some wrestlers from Canada and elsewhere will see it and consider it if they're considering getting into wrestling. But I'll let you close this off with whatever you want to tell the fans and whatever you want to plug. And nice chatting with you again.
Yeah, the pleasure is all mine. You know, it's been a long time since I've seen you, so I enjoy our conversations, and I hope to come back and chat with you again. You know, to the guys out there that are looking to get trained, just, you know, be careful. Make sure that it has everything, the facility has everything that you're looking for, that the coaches are reputable and they're actually mentioned, and that they've trained people that have become something. So, you know, they say the proof is in the pudding. That's all. I mean, we're not the end all. I'm not saying we're the best. We're being told that we're getting there, and we keep evolving the sport. You know, we keep evolving the move because the fight scene that you used to enjoy in 1950, John Wayne, is not the Matrix fight scene that you're seeing today. So we had to evolve some of the things that we do to make it more, you know, fan friendly. But yeah, just do your homework. Otherwise, you know, they're all great facilities. A lot of them have amazing coaches, better than ours, but just do your homework before you. And if you do want to have a look at our program, please go to wfpc.ca and give us a call.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not